Hey, this is Coach Mike back with you on another edition of the Back Office Tutorial Videos for Artists International. We're in our test account here, and I want to go in, make sure you're logged in to your back office, understanding on this video you're going to click on My Organization, and we are going to talk about the 40% rule. So before you click on the 40% rule tab in your back office, what I want to explain to you is what the 40% rule actually is. You're going to hear us talk a lot about the 40% rule in different qualifications. It can go anywhere from your rank qualification. It can be referring to the qualifications in PowerStart. So whenever we say the 40% rule, the calculation is always the same. It's very simple. You simply will take the amount of volume times 40%, and that's going to show you the maximum amount of volume that you can count towards your qualification in the compensation plan. So let me give you an example. Everybody's working, if they're not already president, to work towards president. If you want to be a president, you need, of course you need other qualifications, but the volume qualification is 40,000. How do you figure out how much volume you can count towards qualification towards that 40,000 in each leg? Well, it's real simple. You simply take the volume amount that you need, 40,000, times 40%, which if you're doing a calculator, you can do times 0.40, and that's going to come up to 16,000. That means that no more than 16,000 qualification points can count in any leg towards your qualification for the 40,000. So that means if you want to figure out the math, you would need a minimum of 3 legs to hit each rank in the company. So you take 16,000 times 3, that's 48,000. All you needed was 40, but we made you use the 40% rule, and that simply means that 16,000, no more than 16,000 can count towards that. Now, can you have more than 3 legs counting towards your qualification? Absolutely. But we just want to let you know to establish that when the 40% rule is stated, that simply means that's the maximum amount of volume that you can use in any leg to count towards your qualification. Let me give an example in PowerStart before we go into the 40% rule here. Let's pull up the PowerStart chart. In PowerStart, for instance, let's say you all know that certain qualifications are at 2,000, at 10,000, at 40,000 for president, at 100,000, at 200,000, at 300,000 for platinum. So you know the typical 40% rule that goes for the qualification. For instance, if we're talking about the platinum qualification of 300,000, you would take, how do you figure out the 40% rule? You take 300,000 times 0.40, 40%, that says no more than 120,000 can count in any leg towards your qualification of the 300,000. Now, you may say, well, wait a second. I'm down here, I just hit president at 40,000, and the next really rank advancement isn't to 100. How do you figure out the 40% rule, the 50,000, 60,000, and 80,000 since it's not a new rank? You figure it out the same way, because the 40% rule applies, does the PowerStart as well. So you would simply take 50,000 and you would times 40% or 0.40 on your calculator, and that says that no more than 20,000 in volume counts towards your qualification for that 50,000 on your group qualification points. Same thing goes for 60,000, 80,000, all of these volumes in here. When we say 40% rule applies, you figure it the exact same way. Anytime you're figuring the 40% rule, you would simply take the amount of volume times 40%, and that will show you the maximum amount of volume that you can use for qualification for a rank or for a promotion or for a bonus. So anytime you hear 40% rule, it can apply to many things, but that's how you figure the number. Does that mean that since you can only use 16,000 per leg max for qualification to president, that if you have 100,000, you don't get paid on it? No, no, no. Don't get confused with earnings and qualifications, because you may be a president that has 300,000 in volume, but you've got to balance out your legs right and use the 40% rule, so you get paid on it according to your rank, but only certain amounts can count towards qualification. We're in your back office here, so let's go ahead and click on the 40% rule, and it's going to actually walk you through this step by step. You can see when you click on 40% rule, you'll see one of two things. If you have personally placed your order this month, your personal qualifying order, it's going to show you what you're qualified at currently. If you have not placed your order, in this area right here, it will say you currently do not have a rank. Now, obviously, in this account, we already have our order put in to show you how this works. But if you have not placed an order, whether you're an advisor all the way up to platinum, if you've not placed your personal qualifying order, it will say you currently do not have a rank. Why is that? Well, real simple, because you don't have a rank. If you don't have a qualifying personal order, you're not qualified until that happens. So once you place your personal order, then the information that we're going to go into will show up. If you come in here, in this instance, it says we're qualified as supervisor, and there's a little check mark, which means we made it. And then it'll show number 1 and number 2. It'll say capped at 40%. That's the 40% rule. What's required to hit supervisor? Required is 2,000. Actual is 4,190. So we have more volume than what is required, and we pass the test. Now, if you click this little button right here, it'll actually break down your ID numbers and how much volume that each of them have, and then it will show the cap. Now, it says capped at 800. Where did we get that 800 number? Well, it's real simple. If you take 2,000, that's required, times 40%, that's 800. The same thing goes for any position. So that shows that you can count no more than 800 in volume from each leg. So this leg at 852, you're probably going to get paid on all the 852, but you can only count 800 for your qualification. Down here had 2,780. All you can count for qualification is 800. Same for here. The next thing you're going to see is, do you want to be a manager? Do you want to build up your business a little bit? You can actually have a predictor here on what you need to do to hit the next rank up. You're qualified as manager? No, you're not. There's an X there. That says required is 6,000 and actual is 73. And you're capped at 40%. So the 40% rule, you weren't qualified at your 40% rule to be qualified as a manager. So that kind of shows you if you want to be a director, you can go through here, click on your different one. You want to be a president? Do you want to be an executive? When you don't pass both of these qualifications, then there'll be an X or a check mark on each one. In this instance, it would say required 40,000, your actual is 7772. This number can go up as you're going up in qualification because more volume can count towards your qualification because you're not capped at the 40% at the same amounts on each position. So don't get caught up in understanding every little detail. Just understand that you can log into your back office and see what's required and what you actually have, what you're capped at for ranks, and what the 40% rule means, whether it's on the PowerStart chart or for rank advancements or for any other thing. When we mention 40% rule, you know how to calculate it. Some things you need to calculate manually. Other things like rank advancements are shown to you automatically here in the back office. So hope you enjoyed this video tutorial. Have a great week, and we will see you at the top.